Okay, so let's go through 23 and 24 together because these have the numbers in front, which makes them a little bit tricky. We worked through this before, and I know it's a lot of steps and it's a little bit confusing, but you know, it's good to be familiar with, especially for this mixture. But before we get into that, what do I have to do to the equation? I have to add 12 to both sides because I need this equation to equal 0 before I start factoring, because that's the whole idea, is that if we know two things multiplied together to equal 0, then one of the two has to be 0 themselves. So it doesn't work if the equation equals anything except for 0. All right, so now we've got that taken care of. What do I do? Stuff. That is correct. What stuff do I do? I multiply the first number and the last number. So 2 times 12 is 24. So that tells me I need two numbers that multiply together to give me positive 24 and add together to give me... To give me what? Negative 11. So Dylan's got this figured out. I wonder if anybody else does. What two numbers multiply together to give me positive 24 and add to give me negative 11? Negative 8 and negative 3. All right? So multiply the first and last together, and then use that to figure out what your two numbers are. And then now we have to take the negative 11w in the middle and break it down into those two things. Yeah, negative 8w and negative 3w. It is very confusing. That's why I want to go through this with you, because I know these are tricky.
I didn't know how to do any of
And
it.
you'll see them again in 2 years in advanced algebra.
That's next year.
And maybe in 2 years when you get it in advanced algebra, you'll go, okay, now I kind of get this a little bit. But at least for now, sort of just try to understand the basic idea of what's going on. So now I'm going to take a look at this as two separate problems. So what can I factor out of 2w squared and 8w? In other words, what goes into 2 and 8 evenly? 2. And what goes into w squared and w both evenly? W. So I'm going to factor out a 2 and a w. And so that's a little bit different than what we were doing before. I'm not going double parentheses. The 2w is on the outside of the parentheses, and now I have to figure out what's left inside of the parentheses to make this work. So 2w times what gives me 2w squared? W. And 2w times what gives me negative 8w?
Negative 4.
Negative 4. All right, now the same exact game, this time with negative 3w plus 12. So I can take out a negative 3. And that will leave me with w minus 4. And oh, miracle of miracles. What do you notice about the stuff inside the parentheses? It's the same, which means that we did it correctly, which means that this original problem factors into 2w minus 3 times w minus 4. And those two things multiplied together still equal 0. Okay?
No.
So that's a lot. Is there any questions on that before we finish the problem? Okay, so now we can use the stuff that we were learning before. If 2w minus 3 times w minus 4 equals 0, what do you know has to be true about one of them? Has to be 0. So this one's the easy one. What value of w would make w minus 4 equal to 0?
4.
4, because 4 minus 4 is 0. This is a little bit trickier to figure out, so I'm going to write that equation off to the side and solve it the old-fashioned way. I need 2w minus 3 to equal 0, so the first thing I do to solve that is to add 3 to both sides. So 2w equals 3, and then I divide by 2, so you're backwards there, Nate. The grade is not 2/3, it's 3/2. So my two different choices for w are either 4 or 3/2. Okay? All right, so let's tackle one more of these crazy ones. Yep, since I just showed you how to do it, you'd like to think that you could just rattle this off on your own. Unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be the case very often. First step, though, you can all get. What do? Paige, pay attention. This is confusing. It needs your full attention. First step, what do? Add 10, because I need it to be equal to 0 before I do anything.
That's
All right,
17.
next step, what do? Good. Katie, yeah, multiply the first and the last number together. So 10 times 3 is 30. So that tells me I need two numbers that multiply together to make 30 and add to be 17. What? 2 and 15. So that means I can rewrite my original problem as 3h squared plus 2h plus 15h plus 10 equals 0. Okay, so I just took that 17 and broke it down into 2h and 15h. So now what factors out of 3h squared plus 2h? 8. H. And when I factor that h out of each one of those terms, what am I left with? What? 3h and 2. That's
Why would you
meant?
do that?
No? Okay, the reason why I would do that is because h times 3h gives me 3h squared, what I started with. Or you could think of 3h squared is 3h times h, and I took out one of the h's. Okay? And then 2 times h took out one of the h's from there also. What do I factor out of 15h plus 10? 5 goes into both of those evenly, so I'll factor 5 out. So what's left from that? 3 h's. 5 times 3h is 15h. And what's left from 10? 2. And once again, prominently, did not see this coming. Actually, I did. 3h plus 2, 3h plus 2, both the same in the parentheses. And so that means that this original problem right here factors into h plus 5, because that's the stuff on the outside of the parentheses, times 3h plus 2, because that's the stuff on the inside. Okay? So now I can solve it. Easy answer is h equals -5. Then to figure out the answer for the 3h plus 2, because there's a number in front, I'm going to write that off to the side and do the math separately. How do I solve that?
I couldn't tell you.
What? Yes, you do have an idea. We're trying to get the h by itself. What?
I just put something up there.
Oh. How do I get the h by itself? 2 steps. Subtract 2 to start with. So the 2's cancel, so you've got the 2 gone. Now how do I get rid of the 3? Divide both sides by 3. So yeah, this is -2/3. Okay?
It would come out eventually.
All right. Going to do what? 30?
Can we do all of them?
No, I'm not going to do all of them. You have to do
I don't know.
these. Okay, sure, I can do 30. Should be pretty simple because there's no number in front. So this is just a straight up one where you go parentheses, parentheses. And I need to come up with two numbers that multiply together to give me 12 and add to give me 8. Nate? What are they? Multiply to 12, add to 8. Oh, you're off your game today. 6 and 2. Man. Okay. So in order to make 8 plus 6 equal to 0, what does A have to equal? -6. And in order to make 8 plus 2 equal to 0, A would have to equal -2. So those are my two possible solutions to that problem. All right? All right, will you trade those up, please?